Mr. Aguilar is not in his room.
My father told me something happened to Christian, we have to go.
The latest on the search for the missing UF student.
I called the lieutenant, I said there's something really serious going on here. I need more detectives.
After I did break up with him, he was very possessive, so I was staying away from him.
People are so on edge, so scared.
I'm not going to come back to Miami unless I go with my son.
They decided to stop and pick up a hitchhiker.
We don't know if he was alive or dead. We're definitely racing against the clock.
My son was going to the University of Florida in Gainesville. Christian got to his dream to become a Gator. I never saw my son so happy. He was glowing.
I actually started dating Christian at the end of July. He's the kind of person you meet and you just want to be friends with. Very laid back, very funny. He's just really, really sweet. Around noon, I had just got into class. Christian messaged me, letting me know, hey, I'm gonna meet up with Pedro. Me and Christian and Pedro went to high school together. I left campus maybe around 4 o'clock. I start messaging him and there's no reply, and it's already really unlike him. He had been really fast to text, he had been really fast to answer. It gets later and later. I'm calling both Pedro and Christian because I knew they were together. Neither of them were answering. It was really strange. I was like, they must be someplace with no signal. Morning rolls around, at 6 a.m. I'm calling Christian's roommate, and the guy's like, Christian never showed up. And that's when I start to get really nervous. I call Christian's family.
I received a phone call at 9 o'clock saying that Christian didn't sleep in his room. Erica was really concerned about it.
My name is Carlos Aguilar, and I'm the parent of Christian Aguilar. He's a student over there at the university. His girlfriend has been trying to contact him since yesterday, and he's not answering. He normally responds to his girlfriend right away, and if she's so concerned about it, we are concerned right now. This is not his normal behavior, and I'm wondering if you guys can help us.
Not receiving a phone call from Christian was for us very disturbing.
The last time that I spoke to him was at 3:42 p.m. Yesterday he sent me a text message. That's the last time that I heard from him.
That was an agreement that we had with him when he came over here and chose UF, that the communication has to be, really clear.
103, see if you can make 1025 with a Christian Aguilar. He is a Hispanic male, about 5'3" to 5'5".
I've been with the University of Florida Police Department on and off for about 20 years. We do get a lot of missing person reports, especially at the beginning of a semester when we get a lot of new students that are coming in. It's their first time away from home. Mom and dad are worried about them. Most of those cases will go to their residence hall and then find that they're there, and they just get so busy with all their other activities, especially being in a new environment and being on their own. Mom and dad kind of take a back seat, and they just haven't been in contact with them.
Mr. Aguilar is not in his room. His belongings are there. There's just no one home.
I'm kind of checking my phone every 5 minutes. I was really nervous, so I call Pedro. He finally answers. He didn't know where he was. I'm like, we're going to the police station to report Christian missing.
Pedro Bravo and Erica Freeman were all in our front lobby. With Erica Freeman, it was very obvious that she had been crying.
When we first got to the university police station, they took Pedro to the back because he was the last person that saw Christian.
Let's see if we can locate Christian and figure out where he may have been. Please. How long have you known Christian?
4 years.
My whole philosophy and strategy moving into that interview was to try to say, we're in this together. You came to us for help. Let us help you. Tell me what we can do to help you locate your friend.
Does Christian have a girlfriend here?
Yes. The girl at the front.
What's her name?
Erica Freeman.
That's his current girlfriend?
Yes.
How long have they been dating?
I don't know, I guess 3 weeks to a month.
How long has he known her?
He's known her for about same time as me, 4 years.
So you all went to high school together?
We all went to high school together, yeah.
Pedro Bravo, he looked extremely tired. His face was drawn, his eyes were red.
Tell me a little bit about where you were with Christian yesterday.
The reason I wanted to talk to him is because I've been going through a very rough time, because I've been contemplating suicide, and I almost attempted at one point.
What prompted you to start having these thoughts recently?
Recently, college, moving out.
Do you take classes here at UF?
No, I'm a sad student.
As a detective, as an interviewer, sometimes I just let them talk.
Like, I remember of where I wanted to be when I was little, like what university I wanted to study at when I was little. And then I'm at this point and I'm not where I want to be.
A lot of times that's probably the most revealing part of the interview.
I wanted to talk to Christian ever since I got here because I know he'd be one of the people that would really help me out.
Pedro was very depressed because he didn't reach UF. That was his goal as well as Christian. My son was trying to help him out. Christian liked to help people a lot. He got this ability of making you feel important when you were talking to him. He's a very giving person.
So I called him up and he agreed to meet me Thursday at 2. We got in my car and we went to Zaxby's Chicken. And then he's like, oh, can we pull into the Best Buy? And then we went into the Best Buy and we found the new Kanye West CD and he got it.
At this point, it was really just an exchange of information, so I felt more like, okay, I'll just see where this goes.
I felt like I've screwed up my future. So we're driving around and we're talking about how I want to kill myself and how my reasoning behind it, like why I want to kill myself. And he's like, you shouldn't do it. And at that point, we saw a hitchhiker, just a random guy. And I looked at him, he looked at me, he was like, oh, why not? Like, it's nothing bad, it's 2 of us against 1 person if anything happens.
Pedro tells me that they decided to stop and pick up a hitchhiker.
Tell me about this hitchhiker that you guys picked up.
All I remember because he was very, very tall. He had like a big white beard.
Generally, violent crimes are extremely low in this area. But being a college town, the city of Gainesville has a very transient aspect to it.
And I remember today, I was a little bit nervous because when I checked my car to see if there was anything missing, because I had a bunch of my art supplies in the back. And I looked today and my duct tape is missing.
You dropped this hitchhiker off north of 441 at a storage facility?
He's like, just drop me off right over there. I pull in there, he gets off, and we leave the guy. And then after that, we jump back on the same thing of me talking about me committing suicide. And I'm like, you don't know what I'm going through. He got frustrated and angry at me, and he's like, stop the car, I want to get off.
So about what time was it you dropped Christian off?
Around 6 or 7. I was angry at him because I'm like, fine, you don't want to, like in my mind, I'm like, fine, you don't want to help me? Don't help me. So I stopped the car and I let him get off and I drove away. I really regret it now. I wish I could have kept driving and be like, no, screw you. I don't care. You're not going to get off. And then that's the last I heard of him.
Pedro said Christian demands to be let out of the car. Pedro left him standing on the side of the road with this homeless hitchhiker just a few blocks away that he had just dropped off, and now Christian was missing.
Are you worried that he won't come back?
I'm worried about him because I don't know where he is. And it's been so long, and someone doesn't just vanish for this long and doesn't show any sign of like being somewhere. At this point, something's happened.
I was in my AP English class, and I hear that somebody came to pick me up early from school. And I go outside, and my father's there. He's kind of lost for words. Then he just told me, something happened to Christian, we have to go. We picked up my mom, and we just booked this straight to Gainesville. At this point, all I know is that Pedro was one of the last people Christian saw.
Where do you think Christian is right now?
I don't know. But honestly, I just really hope he's lost.
I interviewed Pedro at the University of Florida campus. Pedro explained that he and Christian got into a heated argument. and that Christian demanded to be let out of the car, and Pedro was so upset that he pulled off to the side of the road and told him to get out.
So about what time was it you dropped Christian off?
Around 6 or 7.
I said, is it possible that maybe Christian left something in your vehicle? And would you mind if I have another officer just go out and take a quick look while we continue talking? And Pedro readily volunteered.
How about Erica? When was the last time we talked to her?
Last time, it was yesterday.
Have you and Erica ever dated?
Yes, we have.
How long ago?
Through high school for 2 years.
Initially, when I talked to Pedro, he just said, hey, that's Christian's girlfriend. He never mentioned that there was this kind of relationship between all three of them.
When did you guys break it off?
Near the beginning of this year.
I kind of wanted to touch on that and see if it struck a nerve. Your ex-girlfriend is now dating your friend.
So how do you feel about Christian and Erica dating?
I'm okay with him. I know he's a good guy, and I know she deserves the best. I know.
He was very elusive, gave the typical, I hope they're both very happy together answers.
And you don't have a problem with them dating?
No, I don't have a problem with them dating.
I never thought of this guy as a suspect, but yet the expressions on his face, the distant look in his eyes, it was just something that just didn't fit.
When I was driving to Gainesville, we called Pedro.
Hello?
My parents are in this state of panic. There wasn't that much information that we knew. All we knew is something had happened.
Yo tengo el mismo sentido porque él es uno de mis mejores amigos.
Cualquier cosa que esté con nada más, ¿ok?
Sí, igual, si tú sabes algo me dices, por favor.
I was desperate to get to Gainesville.
It was truly critical. We find out what really happened.
Chris, where are you? Are we okay?
I felt like I wasn't going to get any more additional information out of Pedro, and I was really, truly at a loss. So I called Detective Randy Roberts over at Gainesville Police Department and explained to him that we were investigating a missing person. We made this decision that, okay, we're going to have to get Gainesville Police Department in here.
How you doing?
Detective Roberts puts people very much at ease.
Are you Pedro?
Yes, I'm Pedro.
And when he comes in and he sits down and he starts talking to you, you feel like you're talking to someone you can trust, that you can confide in.
We usually work these types of cases, missing persons. So
I really hope he's not missing for long.
Me too. So
when in reality, Randy's reading everything that's going on with your body language, with your eye movements, with your hand movements.
I need to just find out, when have you seen Christian?
Yesterday.
There's definitely a sense of urgency when somebody goes missing because something has happened to them. We need to find them as soon as possible, get them returned.
Me and him both see this hitchhiker on the side of the road, and we decided why not to pick him up.
You listen to what they have to say, and then you create your strategies as you go. What's he look like?
He was very tall. He had very big hands.
He gave me an age, height, weight, hair color, even that he was standing on the backs of his shoes. What was Christian wearing? He'd spent hours with him and couldn't tell me basically what color shirt he was wearing. What kind of shoes was he wearing?
Dark color.
Did you make any stops from the time that you dropped him off when y'all were mad at each other? Did you stop anywhere?
Yes, I stopped to get something to eat.
Where?
At the McDonald's.
About what time now?
Stayed around 6-ish, something like that. Then I went home. Around 8, something like that. I took 4 sleeping pills, and I got really drowsy. Next thing I know, I woke up half dazed at 1 just to see how my phone's doing.
As far as you know, we're just sitting there talking, but we've got behind the scenes a lot of people doing a lot of stuff trying to develop information in a short period of time.
Remember, our The evidence custodian went out and did a cursory search of the vehicle just to get clues. Either Pedro's telling us the truth, or maybe there's something that might indicate where Christian might be. And there were some things that came up during their initial observation of the vehicle.
There's a receipt in your car from McDonald's at 1-something in the morning this morning.
The timestamp that was on that McDonald's receipt was totally contradictory to Pedro's timeline. It was almost 5 hours after the time that he said he was at home in bed. Why the discrepancy in the timeline, unless there's more to the story?
People who don't have anything to hide and don't have any reason to hide it usually remember if they get up at 1:30 in the morning from a dead sleep and go down to McDonald's and get something to eat.
I might have had like the midnight munchies, just like been really hungry and gone out, but I don't.
Where he's lying to me, you had to have evidence to contradict his story. That McDonald's receipt, that was something pertinent. Those little places where you order your food has a little camera. Well, am I going to see your face at McDonald's at 1-something in the morning?
Probably.
Probably? Would you say definitely I'll see your face?
You will definitely see my face.
Now I'm getting to the point where I'm going, something's happened. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm kind of looking at you like you did something to him.
You're right. I can't keep everything from you, and I have to tell you one thing.
Okay.
Like, in the scuffle with Chris, it wasn't just really an argument. You're right. I can't keep everything from you, and I have to tell you one thing.
Okay.
Like, in the scuffle with Chris, it wasn't just really an argument.
Pedro Bravo, after I asked about the receipt from McDonald's, he changed his story just a little bit.
At one point, I made the comment about Erica, and he got angry at that.
The biggest thing that jumped out at me is that the guy that's missing was dating your ex-girlfriend, and the last person that he was with was you.
But then he came back with, maybe you should just kill yourself. And that's when I turned around and I hit him in the face. Hard enough, at least, to bruise myself.
Was the other hand?
Oh, there was just paint.
How many times did you hit him?
Just once.
Sitting there going, something's happened to Christian. I excused myself. I picked up the phone. I called the lieutenant. I said, there's something really serious going on here. I need more detectives. We're definitely racing against the clock because we don't know what's happened to Christian. Pedro, what really happened to Christian?
I already told you. I punched him in the face. I told him to get out.
I know, but can you see how I'm having a hard time believing everything when nobody can find Christian?
I know.
You're the last person who saw him.
Yes.
And you punched him in the face.
Yes.
And put him out of your vehicle. People in general do want to tell the truth, but they feel like it's going to incriminate them, so they'll give you pieces because they want to tell you. You have to ask it in the right way. Sometimes things happen in the heat of the moment that you wouldn't normally do.
There's things you'd wish you could change, but...
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I can also understand that if someone is messing around with the girl that I was in love with in high school, he's going to UF, where you should be going. I can see that there's some problems in there. I got to get them to justify their behavior, give them an out, lead them where I want them to go. If you got in a fight with somebody or you did something in the heat of the moment that wasn't intentional, be honest about it, because if it comes out later, it's going to make you look like you're guilty of first-degree murder. You planned it, you picked him up, you took him out. I know you're not that type of person. Everything with Pedro Bravo had to be a justification. I told him that I know you're not that type of person, and he bit on that.
I'm going to be honest, I wanted to hurt him, like, really hurt him for doing that. It wasn't just me pushing him out of the car. It was like, pushed him out of the car, then I got out of the car. Then I kept punching him. I was just there and I was wailing on him. And I kept going until he I could see that he was okay, but he couldn't move anymore. And then I got in my car and left.
Pedro changing his story from it was a heated argument to now it was a rather engaged physical fight.
I know Pedro is not telling the truth about what he knows, and I have an indication that he's done something bad to Christian. And I said, I know, and you know, Christian's not coming back.
He ain't coming back. You know he's not coming back.
And he nodded his head. And that's when I knew for sure he's either hurt him or killed him.
Will I still be able to go home with my parents tonight
I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that you can go home tonight, okay?
Randy Roberts, he knew he had someone who was saying that he had hurt someone else. So you gonna let him go? That doesn't seem like a good choice.
I'm concerned about you wanting to hurt yourself.
I can't do that. My parents are here, so I really can't do that.
I know that.
We didn't have enough to arrest him.
At that point, the evidence we had kind of started to collect was nothing that tied him directly to Christian going missing.
You tell me that you're thinking about hurting yourself. I can't just let you go home. I might have to have you Baker acted and taken down for an examination, psychological examination, make sure you're not going to hurt yourself.
The Baker Act in Florida is an involuntary civil commitment for someone who intends to harm themselves or others. Under Florida law, Randy was able to put Pedro Bravo in a mental health facility for a short period of time, which gave him the opportunity to gather more evidence to prove Pedro committed a crime.
I got detectives doing research, doing cell phone search. I got forensic investigators coming. We drafted search warrants for Pedro Bravo's apartment and Pedro's SUV. I've got detectives out pulling surveillance video.
We have continued coverage tonight with the latest on the search for the missing UF student.
Going into the woods, searching, but we haven't found anything.
As a father, you really don't think. The only thing that you are doing is searching, and the adrenaline is, let's find Christian.
There was a massive effort to find Christian Aguilar. This effort was really spearheaded by his family and his friends.
Family, friends, and police have been searching almost non-stop for Christian Aguilar, who went missing on Thursday. But the UF freshman's whereabouts are still a mystery.
I know I was terrified at that moment. I was scared, I was angry. I'm just imagining all these possible outcomes or situations that Christian might have been in.
They brought in the Game and Fish officers, the Florida Highway Patrol, the Sheriff's Office, helicopters, the Department of Corrections brought in bloodhounds. His parents just desperately hoped Chris was still alive, injured, out in the woods somewhere.
I understand that you and Pedro were dating all through high school.
Yes, it was going to be 3 years in October.
So about 3 years, yeah.
While they're trying to find Christian, we're interviewing Erica, Christian's girlfriend.
After I did break up with him, he was very possessive. Like, it was kind of like, I don't care what you're feeling right now. Like, I want to be with you. So I was just staying away from him.
With Pedro, I definitely just started feeling like less and less valued in the relationship. So I break up with Pedro at the end of senior year. When we broke up, Pedro was heavily sobbing. I was like, I don't want to cause all this pain to somebody, but I need to explain to them, like, I'm very unhappy. And a few months later, I started dating Christian, and we were together all the time.
I know Pedro didn't take the breakup that well, so no one was supposed to know about us dating, and it was a fragile thing.
My main reason for not telling Pedro about me and Christian was strictly concerned for his mental health. But I guess he knew.
So Pedro shows up here sometime in August.
I turn around, he's like right there, and I'm like, I was kind of like in shock.
Pedro got a good scholarship from FIU in Miami, so I was just very confused when I was like, what is he doing here?
Normal people don't just pick up all their stuff and go up to Gainesville for a girl. It's very like soap opera like.
Pedro Bravo was in love with Erica Freeman, but once he discovered that she was dating Christian, Pedro just couldn't get past it. He was going to try to get his girlfriend back.
After hearing more and more from police officers, and after hearing more and more that his story had changed multiple times, I started becoming more and more suspicious of Pedro.
We don't know what's happened to Christian. We don't know if he was alive or dead. You know, we're definitely racing against the clock.
We don't know what's happened to Christian. We need to find him. Like, we were very crunched for time, because how many days can somebody survive in the woods? How many days can somebody survive, hurt?
I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I'm not going to come back to Miami.
and let's go with my son. That's it. We didn't care about bugs. We didn't think about snakes. We didn't think about anything. Because I need to get to him as soon as possible.
During the course of my interview with Pedro, he said he'd had some ideas of committing suicide.
You were with Christian yesterday?
The reason I wanted to talk to him is because I've been going through a very rough time, because I've been contemplating suicide, and I almost attempted at one point.
Pedro Bravo ends up being taken to a mental health facility because he said he's suicidal. He wasn't free to leave, but he wasn't under arrest either. He was essentially being detained.
The Baker Act was coming to the point where Pedro is going to be released. We're still working on building a case against Pedro. So the fact that Pedro actually said that he left Christian Aguilar barely breathing, it was time now to arrest him for the charge of failure to render aid to an injured person.
Am I on TV yet? You are on TV, you're famous. They got random people to go searching. Yeah, they have a group online. It has like 3,000 people. Where are they looking for them though? They're searching the woods, and they have a candlelight vigil. Trust me, I've been inside here praying too.
I am a digital forensic specialist. I concentrate on mobile devices, and I did an extraction of Pedro Bravo's phone. Anytime somebody uses a phone, we're able to build a picture of not only where they were, but where they went, and sometimes even the route that they used to get there.
The Gainesville Police Department will use that information that they gained from Matt Geckel, and they will find every video of every store where Pedro's phone went.
We were ultimately able to find some logs that were kept on the iPhone that contradicted what Pedro was telling us. There was about a 5-hour period from about 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. where Pedro's phone disappeared from the network completely. This is when he told us that his phone had died. We were able to show through the log that that wasn't true, that his phone actually had a charge and that he had just placed it in airplane mode. When Pedro's phone came back on the network, about 1:03 in the morning, it actually put him almost in the same area that he was in when he left. It was actually near a McDonald's where we ultimately discovered a car wash that he had visited.
We found video from a car wash, and he was there for 12 minutes washing his vehicle, which is very unusual to wash your vehicle not only at that time, but also for that long. The only thing he didn't wash was the wheel wells. We found dirt and soil underneath the wheel wells that indicated he'd been out in the woods. So samples of all those were taken. Inside Pedro's vehicle, we found blood that paint had been poured over top of. And Pedro had the paint on his fingers when I interviewed him. We drafted search warrants for Pedro Bravo's apartment. We found some receipts for items that were very incriminating, like a shovel. He lived in an apartment. He didn't do any maintenance. He wasn't working at anywhere that used shovels.
One of the things we found on Pedro's phone was that he had used the flashlight app for an excessive period of time. He had used it for over 40 minutes.
It's a long time to use your flashlight app on your phone, unless you're burying a body in the woods.
All the evidence pointed to GPD is not working a missing persons case, they're working a homicide.
State attorney asked me, if you had a body right now, would you charge him with murder? And I said, yes. And he said, you have enough probable cause for that? And I said, yes. A lot of evidence was obtained. He did give admissions without a total confession. And he gave us enough to be able to make a case. The state attorney said, then charge him.
The police had told us it's no longer a search and rescue, it's now going to be a search and recovery. It was just very devastating. It was very, soul crushing. Eventually, I go to, the first officer I see, and I'm like, I want to go talk to him. We're in so much pain. There's got to be something I can do, please. And we had fears we're never going to find his body. I wanted Pedro to tell us where the body was.
We need you to help us with everything you know. You know how this is eating me up?
No. You're not allowed to complain. You made the choice, and I'm sad, and I can't sleep, I can't eat.
The only thing I'm in here for is to talk about Christian. Like, where is he? Where did you put him? What's going on? He just keeps referring the conversation to himself.
I'm so sorry. It's so hard on the outside.
You say you love me. Please. I need help. I need your help. Please. I really, really want to find Christian. I really, really want to find him.
You know what, Erica? I honestly thought you were everything in this world. I honestly thought that. But you know what? I lied to myself.
Like, just came to a realization that, like, the person that I thought I knew, that I dated, and that who I was friends with, and who I, shared laughs with, and all these things, that person did not exist. Maybe that person never existed.
I was a liar to myself.
Randy felt strongly that it was a murder, but he did not know that it was a murder. We didn't have a body. It's harder to prosecute a case without a body. You have to clearly establish that the person is dead. That's an element of the offense.
When they told me that they 90% believed that my son was dead, that was the worst day of my life. I started crying. I broke. My family didn't want to believe it, and I said, well, we don't have to believe right now. The only thing that we have to do is keep our faith, keep looking, because without his remains, it's not going to be no justice. This guy is going to walk away if we don't find Christian's remains.
Mr. Bravo had changed his story several times. There was a lot of reason to believe he was guilty. Randy Roberts has the receipt from McDonald's that shows that he's lied about his whereabouts. There's body fluid on the back seat of Pedro Bravo's car. Mr. Bravo had purchased a shovel with cash, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, why would Pedro Bravo be washing mud off his car? And on the night that this happened, he used his flashlight app for 43 minutes. So Randy Roberts felt strongly that it was a murder.
We've arrested Pedro Bravo for murder, but we still can't find Christian. We know that we're not going to find him alive. The family needs closure, and they're still conducting searches every day.
The crime that you saw in there, I told them we have to start thinking the worst.
We charged Pedro Bravo and we went to the grand jury without a body. It's harder to prosecute a case without a body, and Pedro Bravo, he chose to continue to protest his innocence and say that he wasn't guilty of anything.
They're trying to frame me right now. Funny.
This guy planned this one, and he's not telling the entire truth.
When they executed a search warrant of Pedro's bedroom, the Gainesville Police Department located his journal, and he had the vast majority of what he intended to do in that journal. Pedro was embarking on this journey in his mind to get Erica back.
This was a young man that had gone off the deep end, became obsessed, and allowed his obsession to control him.
Approximately 5 days before Chris went missing, Mr. Bravo goes to Walmart and Lowe's and buys the items that he will use to murder Chris. This was a planned and plotted murder.
I got a telephone call. The Levy County Sheriff's Office had located a body at a hunt camp, and that they believed it was going to be Christian.
I walked up about the same time and I said, "Is that a human head?"
We had forensic anthropologists from the University of Florida and their team come up. I had brought Christian's dental work to the anthropologists, and he made a positive identification while they were still at the scene.
Christian's body was severely decomposed. He was bound with duct tape at his ankles, at his hands, at his mouth, and around his neck.
It looked like a human skull face down. The only person I could think of was a boy missing from the University of Florida.
People that we care about are buried face up. And our enemies are buried face down. And Chris was face down when Pedro left. It was pretty sad.
To my family, all completely destroyed. With something that we never imagined. That somebody would hurt my son like that. Never. Pedro wanted Christian to be removed so he can stay with Erica. But I think they had involved more emotions than that. It was envy. It was he being not able to fulfill his dreams in the university with the girl, and showing Christian as a projection of his dream being fulfilled. I think he's just pure evil.
Yo te recomiendo una cosa, no converses con nadie.
Yo sé, ya me había quedado callado.
La misma persona que está puesto al lado tuyo es la persona que después puede o sea utilizada en tu contra.
Pedro Bravo's in jail with a bunch of people who want to get out of jail. And they're listening very intently to everything he says. And if it's information that they believe may help them in their case, they're definitely calling us.
My lawyer needs to come and talk to me because I got some stuff I want to say.
We received information from an inmate whose name is Michelangelo. Michelangelo said that Pedro Bravo had told him where the shovel he used to bury Christian was located. Now, from our perspective, you have to understand that Michelangelo has a significant criminal history. This information is very suspect, if not highly unlikely.
We've been looking for this shovel for weeks. So we took the information, went out to the apartment complex and started looking where we were told it was at. It was actually found. When we got it, we have our crime scene person pick it up, and soil samples that were still adhered to the shovel, they actually matched up with the location where Christian was found, and to the soil that was found underneath the wheel wells.
Once that shovel has been found, Michelangelo was telling the truth. He couldn't not be. It was a certainty that he would testify.
Welcome back. The trial of Pedro Bravo got underway in Gainesville this morning.
We're not charging him with second-degree murder. Second-degree murder is a killing that's done out of a sudden flash of intense violence. This was a first-degree murder. This was a planned and plotted murder, and we knew we had to prove that.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that you
Did we have a strong suspicion as to how Christian was killed? We did. But what Michelangelo gave us was a detailed account of that death that was even more horrifying than what we had thought it would have been.
He parked over, on the side of the parking lot away from Walmart. He got out like he had to find something in the back seat, and he told me that, when he was back there, he, basically put a moving strap around the kid's neck and braced himself against the seat, putting his body weight against it, and his nose started bleeding. He said that he remembers watching the clock on the radio, and said it took like 13 minutes for the kid to, I guess, die.
13 minutes. It's a terrible way to die.
He said he kept the strap on his, his neck, but that he had duct taped his hands and his mouth up. And while he was riding, he said that, the kid Chris was making a sound like,
Michelangelo's testimony, it's hard to know really how the jury received it. He gives a description of how Pedro Bravo kills Christian Aguilar, but we can't prove that. We don't have any reason to believe that the cause of death was a fight. We have every reason to believe that he strangled him.
All rise for the jury. We'll be adjourned until tomorrow morning, trial at 9.
The jury's going to deliberation. There's like this sense of panic. You hear about people who don't get charged or convicted. To the public, it seems like, why wouldn't you convict this person? It doesn't make sense. What did the jurors see that you didn't? We're just worried. We didn't know what to expect. They call you back into the courtroom to hear the final verdict, and your heart's racing, your stomach drops. So it was just intense anxiety to hear what they were going to say.
Pedro admitted Christian Aguilar had suffered probably life-ending injuries and that he had abandoned him. We certainly argued to the jury that this was a confession.
We, the jury, finds as follows as the defendant, Pedro Andres Bravo. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder.
Mr. Bravo was convicted as charged on every count: first-degree murder, kidnapping, the unlawful transportation of human remains, tampering with evidence, lying to a police officer in a missing persons investigation, and false report of a crime. He was sentenced to life imprisonment, and in addition to that, he was sentenced to 46 additional years in state prison.
When they came with the verdict and they announced it, it was a relief that, justice was served. We cried. We didn't enjoy or celebrate nothing. Nobody won. I'm not taking my son back home. And, Pedro's family is also destroyed.
Carlos and Claudia have more strength than anybody I've ever seen. I couldn't imagine being a parent having to go through what they did.
The police, the investigators, the prosecutor, they were phenomenal. And those people are in my heart. And always I will be, grateful for their friendship, for their support. I know there is a lot of good people, and you cannot let one individual destroy all of us.
Christian definitely set this kind of path, and he carried himself in such a way that I kind of wanted to also follow. I decided to go to the University of Florida. I felt like the only way to truly understand what he saw in the school was just to come here, and it's one of the best decisions I've ever made.
I cannot be more blessed than being the father of Christian and Alexander. For me, both of them are the most precious gift given to me by God. My favorite thing about Christian is his smile, his heart. He won't give you a hug, give you a kiss without you asking. And I miss that.
I tend to always remember those really happy moments where we're talking about the future and we're holding each other and we're eating a bunch of donuts. Very simple, just felt so exciting being with him. I try to think of how pure that love was and how rare that love is, and I think that's how I'm gonna carry him in my heart, because I know there's a lot of pain in the story and there's a lot of grief in the story, but love is what kept me going in all of that, and love is what keeps me going. Love is his legacy.
For more about Criminal Confessions, go to oxygen.com.
Stephanie called me. She says, Daryl's dead.
I think you did something. I think you were...
You think I did something?
Yeah.
He didn't have any enemies that I knew. You're not gonna find no gun residue because I did not pull no trigger.
Who actually pulled the trigger? That's an open question.
Was there anybody else there?
Yeah, that Mexican guy that we don't know whose name it was.
It was like something out of a weird movie.
What did he tell you?
That if I say anything, it wouldn't be too hard to get rid of me.
We had no murder weapon. We had no physical evidence. Getting a confession was key.
This is my first homicide investigation. It was a lot of pressure.
If you go back and you look historically at the city of Eunice, homicides are few and far between. And so when the Darrell Blagg incident took place, it was a shock.
The Eunice Police Department responded initially, and I remember that day it was raining really hard.
We got a call for a man shot, residence on 15th Street.
Have you talked to them yet, or?
We got on scene. There was Stephanie Blagg, John Blagg, and Dally Blagg standing out in the front yard.
Where's the gun?
Okay. I came over to pick him up at the park, and I walked back there, and he was laying there.
Oh,
The first thing I'm thinking is the shooter still in the house? So we backed out of the home, guns drawn, clearing it room by room. We come back out, and at that point, we realized there is no shooter here.
Stephanie called me. She was screaming. I said, "What?" She says, "Darrell's dead. I found him in the back room. He's dead in the back hall."
Looks like there's some kind of mark. I don't know if it's a gunshot.
I could still see it. Him laying there, full of blood.
I don't know all the particulars yet, but right now we're treating it as a crime. No, we haven't moved him at all yet.
I was in shock. I was like, there's no way. He didn't have any enemies that I knew. Darrell was a happy-go-lucky guy. Everybody liked him. He was a good, honest, hard-working man and a good friend.
He had went to basic training for the Marines. Mom was very patriotic, and he wanted her respect. He was loving, he was funny, and he was a good dad to his boys.
It was determined by the chief at that time that state police will come in and conduct investigation. At that point, we hold the scene until state police got there.
Whenever something like that happens, you drop whatever you're doing and you prepare to be gone for however long it takes to work your case.
Every case I do, I don't care what it is, I investigate it like if it was my family that got victimized. And I make sure that I do everything in my power to try to help that victim. I just remember kissing my husband and daughter goodbye, and I was on my way to Eunice. And during this time that I'm driving, Tim tells me, "By the way, this is gonna be your homicide." So I'm like, oh wow, because this is my first homicide investigation. It was a lot of pressure.
At the time that the murder had taken place, it had the appearance of being like a home invasion where someone had entered a home and killed someone. And so immediately there was a little bit of anxiety from the citizens of the city of Eunice and from this area, wondering if there's someone out there on the loose.
I don't even know what I have yet, and I've got to go to the scene, see what's there. But Tim had gotten to Eunice before I did, and he was already speaking with Stephanie.
I'm so confused.
Okay. A lot of times in conducting an interview with the wife of someone that has just died, that interview is rather difficult because of the emotions. You okay?
Yeah, I just have panic attacks and I'm trying not to.
Okay.
It's just get hard to breathe.
Alright. There's been a lot of times that I haven't been successful in conducting that interview that close to the death because of the emotions that run high. Can you tell me what you did from when you woke up this morning until...
Yes.
Okay. A witness victim interview, the goal is to get information from them. and the details of this sequence of events.
I got up and went out of my room at 4 o'clock this morning.
At 4? Okay.
And he's been kind of cranky because he hasn't been sleeping good.
Okay, tell me who he is.
Daryl.
Okay, and that's your husband?
No, we're divorced. We were trying to make it work. Yes.
Stephanie and Daryl Blagg had been divorced, and they had gotten back together in an attempt to reconcile their relationship, and there were plans for them to get remarried at the time of Daryl's death.
So, I don't know what time I called him, but because he told me last night I never wanted to have sex with him or do anything with him. So I said, the kids are going to be gone. I said, instead of coming to the front door, come to the back door, because I'm not going to have nothing on but one of my little nighties.
She wanted them to come in the back door so that, there's going to be a little time for them to, have as a couple.
And I remembered I didn't tell John and Dolly what time to be home. So I went to go find them at the park to tell them what time to be home. Well, they were wet and they wanted to come home and grab a dry shirt and a jacket.
Stephanie and Daryl Blagg's children are John Blagg. I believe he was 15 or 16 at the time. Dally Blagg, who was 12. And then Andrew Blagg, who was 18 years old.
So we get home and his gang truck's there. The front door was unlocked, which is unusual. John said he had to pee, and I said, wait a minute and let me go make sure the bedroom door's shut. And I walked back there. And Daryl was laying there just inside the back door, and there was blood everywhere.
All right, well, just take deep breaths, okay? You got water, right? You don't need anything to eat, or you don't want coffee?
Yeah, I just want my kids.
When Tim was speaking with Stephanie, John and Dally told us, well, yeah, there was a red pickup that kept driving by, all night long.
Who do you think could have done this to your dad? I don't know, it could have been that guy in that red pickup, but I'm not sure.
We're like, okay, well, what did the red pickup look like? Did you happen to get a license plate? And they just didn't know. But at this point, the red truck was the only lead that we had. The person that killed Daryl Blagg may be driving the red pickup.
He followed my dad home. How do you know? I saw him pull up at the same time my dad did.
When the Daryl Blagg incident took place, it was all over the newspapers. It was on the news. And so people in the community of Eunice were uneasy.
I met with our crime scene team, which was Kevin Massis, and he started walking me through the scene. I could see Daryl just sitting there in a pool of blood. Mr. Blagg got home at 4 o'clock that evening. That's the time he was shot. He was shot multiple times in the face and in the chest. I think we had over 100 pieces of evidence. But with all that evidence, we didn't really have any hard evidence pointing to someone. We were trying to get to the bottom of what had happened. And there was the story of the red pickup that was brought up. And so we searched desperately for every red pickup. And, we went and followed up on every lead that we had. And Tim was still trying to get information from Stephanie.
I got his lunch made like I do every morning.
What'd you make him for lunch?
I made him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, 3 ham sandwiches.
3 ham sandwiches?
Mm-hmm. And I put a Star Crunch and some other little cake, and I put a bag of brownies and a bag of chocolate chip cookies in there.
Okay. Any idea as to what time you came home and found him?
The only way I would know is if I called his sister.
You called her?
She was the first one I called.
Okay. How come you didn't call 911 the minute you found him?
I'm very bumfuzzled.
Okay. It's not normal to call a bunch of different people before you call an ambulance. She was able to describe to me every single item that she put in Daryl's lunchbox. But if you're having difficulties relaying the events that occurred a few hours ago, in my experience, you're hiding something for some reason. Any narcotics involved in the household at all, either with you or him?
No.
Okay. It's just information.
I mean, I tried. I asked her a while back, and we got in a big fight about it, but I mean, no.
Okay. And ice being methamphetamine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Have you used it since then at all? It's okay. Tell me.
Yes.
Okay. When's the last time you used ice?
Just this morning.
Okay.
She was doing drugs, meth, but Daryl was totally against drugs of any kind. He told her in front of everybody, I'll do what I can to help you. You're my kid's mom.
I still think there's some information that you're not telling me, Stephanie.
There's not.
That would help.
I told you
In this
everything I know.
It wasn't until speaking to Rose Dozier, Daryl's sister, that I realized that Stephanie had a boyfriend.
Do you know of anyone who wants to hurt your brother? She had left for another man. No. Billy, body. Do you know if she still has any contact with him? I've heard rumors that he's been coming around.
He loved her. No matter what she done, it seems like he took her back.
So I tell Tim, there's a little bit more to the story.
Recording again, Stephanie, Jamal Martinez is in here. So, if we can just get this covered real quick, Stephanie. Can you tell me who your ex-boyfriend is? Billy?
Billy Kelly?
Billy Kelly?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was he in town today?
Mm-hmm. I came by this morning. And then...
Okay, but this is the first you told me about Billy being there, and I asked you if there was anyone else there. When Stephanie found out that we knew about Billy Kelly, the story changed a little bit.
He was with my boys at the park.
Oh, he was with your boys at the park? Okay.
Yes. And I had him come back to the house with me. And Billy went back there, and he come back, and he told me that Daryl was back there dead.
I mean, there were definite holes in the story, which made me suspicious as to whether she was being completely honest with me.
There was no red pickup at your house today?
Huh?
The boys tell me.
I did not see no pickup parked in my driveway or anywhere else if there was one parked there, because I just ran out, barefooted, run to tell the kids what time to be home so I could hurry up and get back before Daryl got there. Go get my clothes. Check them. You're not going to find no gun residue because I did not pull no trigger.
Okay, but did Billy?
No. If he did, I wasn't there and I didn't see it.
Okay.
What kind of damn person would take somebody there to kill their ex-husband in front of their kids?
I don't know.
Only a maniac.
I don't know all these answers. That's why we're asking the
No,
question.
I'm third. No.
Okay.
That's just ridiculous. I would not do that.
She didn't want to talk to us without a lawyer after that.
And at that point is when they arrested Stephanie.
While we were conducting the interview with Stephanie, our investigators obtained a search warrant and found methamphetamines in her vehicle, which was the basis for charges against her.
The boys, they're a wreck. They've lost their dad. Their mom's in jail. I was their guardian after that.
It was beneficial to us for her to be incarcerated, which gave us the ability to interview persons that we felt could provide solid information to help resolve the case. Stephanie had relayed that Billy found Daryl deceased. It became very clear that Billy Kelly was a person of interest in this case, and interviewing him was one of our top priorities.
Billy was from Lubbock, so Gary and I went to Lubbock.
Tell us a little bit about how you know the black family.
Well, to me and Stephanie, after her and Daryl got a divorce, we was engaged to be married.
We wanted to know more about what he was doing that day and actually try to understand his relationship with Stephanie.
Did you know Daryl?
Yes. He hates me with a passion. Him and Stephanie separated, so I put a tattoo on her ankle. and it was my initials.
You put your initials on her toes. You don't think he has a right to be mad?
I got her all over me.
He basically had tattoos of something, regarding Stephanie all over his body.
So what time did you get to the house?
I'm going to say about 4:30. Me and the kids would go to the park. And then we drove around for a little while because it was raining. And then I needed gas in the car. So we pulled up at Allsup's.
Billy said he was at Allsup's. So then there's something else that you can, jot down to go follow up on.
And then Stephanie called me on my cell phone. She goes, let's go back to the house. I said, all right. I said, I need to use the bathroom anyway. And so as I went in there, and then that's when I seen Daryl laying there. And then John said, well, let me have the phone so I can call the police. She goes, no, we have to get Billy out of here. Billy's here, they're going to blame Billy. And so John kind of pushes the screen off the kitchen window, and I go out.
Why did Billy Kelly crawl out of the kitchen window instead of going out the front door? I don't know.
I'm just going to be honest with you.
Okay.
I think you did something. I think you were...
You think I did something?
Yeah. I don't know if it was love or infatuation or what it was, but he just seemed like he would do anything for her.
You love this woman. You're not going to just cower away and let them sort out their problems, right? You want to be part of this family.
You want to take care of her.
You want to be there.
Yeah, I want to be there. I mean...
Do you understand, though, how it looks?
Yes, I do. But you are barking up the wrong leg with me. I did not do it. No. I was not at that house when he got shot.
Come on, brother. We're not stupid, brother.
I'm not saying you are stupid. But don't sit there and tell me I'm a killer and that I got the weapon. I moved the body because I didn't. You're pissing me off.
How am I thinking you that?
Because you're sitting there telling me I was there, I done it.
Well, was you?
No, I was not. I done sit here and told you 3 times that I wasn't there.
Speaking with Billy, it was pretty clear cut that things aren't adding up.
You're sneaking around, and you were with her when he died.
No, I was not.
Even though he didn't come out right and say he was involved somehow, we still kind of had this adrenaline rush that we were on the right track.
This is over. It's done.
Because of the confrontational interview with Billy Kelly and unclear information that Stephanie Blagg gave about her sequence of events that day, it became apparent that Stephanie Blagg and Billy Kelly had some involvement in the death of Daryl Blagg. What that role was the big question.
We went and followed up on every lead that we had, like the story of the red pickup. We realized that was actually Daryl Blagg's coworker forgot his wallet at the house, and he drove up in his red pickup to go get his wallet.
And so we were able to eliminate the red pickup truck as a vehicle of interest, and even the driver as a person of interest, which kind of took us back to square one. While we were continuing the investigation of Daryl Blagg's murder, Stephanie Blagg was in custody for possession of methamphetamines. And the reason she stayed in custody was because she was not able to make bail. But she wasn't going to talk to me further without a lawyer being present.
Hello, this is a collect call from Stephanie.
Once Stephanie was in jail, she made tons of calls.
She made a lot of calls to Billy Kelly as well as numerous calls to her children.
I want to ask you a question.
What, baby?
Did you have anything to do with it at all?
No, baby, I did not have your daddy killed. I did not kill him, baby, I didn't.
No lies at all.
No, baby, I didn't.
Is Billy?
No, son. Billy was with your brother, Ducky.
What I have to know.
Whatever, you don't believe me. Tell your brothers I love them, okay?
Stephanie's own son, Andrew, questioning Stephanie's innocence, that prompted us to bring in Andrew's younger brothers, Dally and John. Because John and Dally Blagg were with Stephanie and Billy Kelly when Daryl's body was found at their house.
So you go to the park, you and Dally go to the park.
Yes, sir.
And then what did you do?
We went and started walking home.
Okay. Was there anybody else there that day?
Yeah, that Mexican guy that we don't know whose name it was.
A Mexican guy?
Yes, sir.
We now have discovered an unidentified person that was with Stephanie Blagg the day Daryl was murdered.
And what do you think he was doing at your house that day?
I don't know.
And you don't remember his name?
I think it starts with a J.
My mom was there. She told us that we wasn't supposed to be back yet. By the time I get by her bedroom door, it was open, and her and that Mexican guy were walking out.
Any idea what they were doing?
Dally seen them messing with the guns.
We did forensic testing on both Stephanie Blagg and Billy Kelly for gunshot residue. Those tests came back inconclusive. It could mean a couple of things. One, we didn't gather that evidence quickly enough, and they were able to get that gunshot residue removed or washed from their hands. Or it meant that they hadn't fired a gun.
Now we know John and Dally saw this Mexican guy looking at guns with their mom. Our thesis was that Stephanie had hired someone to kill Daryl Blagg. We just didn't know who it was.
So now we've got this unidentified person that his name begins with a J, and that's not a lot of information to go on.
This call is subject to monitoring and recording.
Oh, you know that Mexican guy that was over here?
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
The one that was with you when me and Dally came back from the park.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
They're trying to find him.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And I can't think of his name.
I think her denying that this third person even existed was her way to be consistent with what she told her children. And she needed them to believe that she was innocent of any involvement in their dad's death.
They're asking me the same questions over and over and over.
If they call you back down there and question you again, you tell them you're not saying a word. If there ain't no lawyer there, don't say nothing. Come go to hell.
They knew that they needed to not talk to the police and they needed to keep Mom's secret.
I forgot who it was, but they said you hired somebody for Dad's paycheck.
You hired somebody to do what for Dad's paycheck?
Kill him?
Baby, I did not hire nobody to kill your daddy. Who said that?
I don't remember who it was.
That's not true.
There was an individual that was in jail, a cellmate, that had been talking to Stephanie and had information in reference to the Blagg homicide. This individual's name was Stacy Meredith.
Mrs. Blagg had made some comments to her that she had hidden a handgun along with some clothing that she was wearing during the incident. We were told it was near a church.
Stacy came to us and said, I'm willing to testify. I'm willing to bring her to the location. I'm willing to help you guys set her up. But I've got these theft charges. Would you help me get out of jail?
Stephanie had made the request that if Stacy gets out, that she bond out Stephanie so that they could go and get this murder weapon. We decided to make that happen.
We asked the judge to please let Stacy Meredith out to help us.
Jailhouse snitches are not really reliable people. They're trying to work out a way, to make their problems less. They have a motive, to lie.
Stephanie gets bailed out of jail by Stacy Meredith. We took a big gamble, saying, okay, we hope that Stacy, comes through on her promise and that she convinces Stephanie to go and look for the guns. Because if she doesn't, then we don't have much to go on. We took a big gamble. We hope that Stacy, comes through on her promise and that she convinces Stephanie to go and look for the guns.
We set up a vehicle and recording devices and some good surveillance to make certain that Stacy Meredith was going to be safe and protected.
There was a group of us, and we were taking turns leapfrogging each other to where we wouldn't be noticed by Mrs. Blagg. My primary role was to keep eyes on them and to try to locate the possible murder weapon. As they initially got out of the vehicle and started looking around, it seemed like she knew exactly what she was doing. but then she couldn't find what she was looking for. And so, they wandered around the church and around the side of some buildings and homes over in that area, like they thought they were Navy SEALs seeking Bin Laden or something, I mean, it was like something out of a weird movie.
She didn't actually get a weapon from the church or near the church or anything. They didn't left, and we had officers that pulled them over and took Stephanie back into custody. I was disappointed that Stephanie wasn't able to find the gun or the murder weapon or exactly what she was looking for, but Stephanie's actions solidified her involvement in the death of Daryl Black for us. And she was charged with an open count of murder after the surveillance operation.
Why she went through these theatrics is anybody's guess. There's no way they could pin this on her because who actually pulled the trigger? It was an open question.
Daddy?
Hello?
They charged me with murder.
Did they?
Some black girl in here wanted out, so she called the cops and told them a bunch of lies, and they let her out. They've got no damn hard evidence on me.
Yeah.
All they've got is a damn black girl that wanted out of jail. We re-interviewed Stacy Meredith. Stacy told me that Stephanie had hired this Mexican guy to kill her husband. She gave me the first name of Juan. Juan is a very common name for the Hispanic people over here in this area.
We had somebody else out there that we needed to get identified, but trying to figure out who this individual was difficult.
And so things got stagnant.
Mentally and physically, I was exhausted. Anybody get a tip, they would call me. I would call Monica.
Rose calls me out of the blue, and she said, there's a kid, his name's David Pena. He wants to talk to you. I understand that you have some information for me on Daryl Black's murder.
At the time, there was the guy that was involved. He was staying with me.
Who's that?
Johnny
Murrow, okay. David calls him Johnny Murrow, which, obviously translates to Juan. So at that point, I remember my heart was beating really fast, and I was just thinking, oh my gosh, we know who Juan is. Did you see Stephanie that day, Miss Black?
Yes, I saw her pick him up and drop him off.
So she picked him up at your address.
And just a couple hours later, he gets dropped off, and he's carrying a bloody shirt full of guns. And he said, I just shot someone. And he goes, I need to ride to Hobbs. Can you give me a ride? I was like, he had all kinds of guns. So I gave him a ride to Hobbs, and we met up with Billy. And he got all of his guns and everything out of my car and put him in Billy's car, and he jumped in with Billy, and they left from there.
Why are you coming forward now? After all this time.
I would have came forward sooner. But Johnny made me swear, to my life that I wouldn't say anything, because more likely he'd do it to me too.
What did he tell you?
That if I say anything, it wouldn't be too hard to get rid of me.
When I met David, he was like 18-year-old kid, and he was really scared. He was there simply because he was trying to do the right thing.
I've worked with Mr. Black, he was a great man.
Well, I really appreciate you coming forward and talking to me. Now I know his name, but who knows where Juan is right now. In May of 2008, one of our narcotics agents, confidential informants, had said, hey, that guy Juan you're looking for, he's over here working out on this rig. Stephanie's still in jail. So we went out and we arrested him. And I said, but, do you want to talk to me? And he says, yeah. He goes, I want to know what this is about.
Hi, Mr. Moon. Here, I brought you some water. It is hot outside today.
Yes, ma'am, it is. The case against Juan Murrow was circumstantial. We had no murder weapon. We had no physical evidence actually linking him to the murder scene. Getting a confession from Juan Muro was key to being able to charge him.
I remember just being very nervous and thinking, okay, I've got to get this guy to tell me everything. And I just kept thinking, how am I going to do that?
Okay, Mr. Murrow, basically what's going on is we have a murder warrant for your arrest. Okay.
I felt a lot of pressure because not only am I in the room with him, but I actually have Tim and my sergeant watching me.
David Pena, a kid that I guess apparently you stayed at his house with his mother.
Right.
He has come forward and given us a statement. So the reason I'm here is, have you ever played poker?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, right now I feel like I have
the winning hand.
The winning hand. Okay.
I'm trying to sit in there and strategize about, okay, if I go in there like Law and Order, and I try to be mean to him, I'm not going to get anywhere with this guy. I'm going to have to, kill him with kindness.
So, that's what I'm saying, Mr. Murrow, I feel sorry for you right now. Because I know that, everybody's against you.
Right.
Okay?
You know what it is? It's like this. Everybody looks at my tattoos, everybody thinks just because I come from a big city I'm a gangster, whatever. I'm not a gangster. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Being in the interview room, knowing that confession is going to make this case, there was a lot of pressure on Monica.
I'm sorry to cuss.
No,
right now,
I cuss
my nerves are all tore up to hell because I'm not going to go down for this murder.
Okay.
We had been going for probably like an hour.
We can make a phone call.
Who do you need to call?
At that point, I thought he was trying to invoke his right.
I guess I'm going to need my lawyer for this one.
I knew that if I messed up with Juan in any way, I could end up losing the case.
Do you want a lawyer now? Is that what you're asking?
No, I want to talk about this.
Okay.
I want to know what's going on.
All right.
I thought that Juan was going to tell me I want an attorney, so it surprised me when he still wanted to speak with me.
I don't understand, because this is like, this is something big for me here.
I know. It's a
this
big
is my
deal.
life here,
Yeah, we're talking about possible death penalty.
Yes.
Without the confession, this case is much more difficult to prove. And so there was tons of pressure on Monica in that interview room. Tons of pressure.
Why would David say, though, that you conspired with Stephanie and that she had asked you to kill her husband? We're talking about your life here, Mr. Murrow. We're talking about your life.
I'm going to tell you everything.
Okay.
I didn't plan to get involved in this. I went there to get high and fix some up, and
you were there.
And it was like, oh, shit, you know what I mean?
Monica used the stair-step approach,
where you get them to admit just a little bit more of the truth in baby steps going up the stairs, and then once that comes out of their mouth, they can't go back down.
So I came down to get some meth from Stephanie.
Okay.
Right. When I picked up my meth, I was in the front, the boys came in, and Billy was there.
Okay.
I went to the living room this way. Someone came into the back door and shots were fired. I hit the floor. Stephanie started yelling.
Okay, who was in the house when shots were fired?
Me and Billy and Stephanie.
Stephanie, okay.
And when that happened, I took off. Boom.
And again, that stair-step approach, he can't now go back from being at the scene.
And then next thing you know, Stephanie's taking me back to my house. She gave me a couple guns herself. I said, cool.
Okay.
I'm not going to lie. I was there when that happened. I didn't pull the trigger.
Okay.
Okay.
Who pulled the trigger then?
Billy did.
Billy pulled the trigger.
Yes.
Okay.
At that point in time, the time of death of Darryl was narrowed down, pretty precisely.
Okay, you know that over here there's an Allsup's.
Yes.
Okay. And around, I guess it's about 5 minutes to 4, because of those surveillance video. Dally and John, okay, are with Billy and they're trying to put gas at the pumps. Okay? About that time, Mr. Black drives by in his game truck. So if Billy was there with the boys, that makes only you and Stephanie there at the house. So how could Billy have shot him? Do you need some more water?
Please.
Do you need to take a break? No.
From his posture and body language, I could tell that he was like, I'm all out of stories. And I'm thinking, okay, Monica, you got him. You just need a little more time. And ultimately, I ended up convincing Tim just to come in there with me.
Sometimes just taking a small little break and another agent coming in and helping pick up right where they left off can get them right through that door.
So who are you saying shot Daryl Black? Billy. Okay. The problem I have with that is Billy wasn't at the house.
See, Johnny, we have video.
We got video from all subs.
I was loaded some on meth, dude, that wasn't planned to happen, dude.
Well, then just tell us exactly what happened.
It's okay, man.
What did you shoot him with?
Whatever gun they gave me.
Okay.
They knew I was hurting for meth. It wasn't.
Did you get paid to do it? If
No,
that's what happened,
I didn't get paid.
just say it.
Or I didn't get paid. It's just they said they give me high.
Just to get rid of him?
Yes.
Okay.
I got 2 bowls of meth. And
that's all you got. And the guns.
Some meth and a few guns. It was the value of a life.
What did Stephanie tell you how this was?
She asked me the same way Billy said. They all came up with the same story about shooting him once in the head and making it seem like a suicide.
It's hard to make a suicide if the guy's got 5 bullet holes in him. But the people involved in this case never did anything that was even remotely what you'd consider normal.
It wasn't me, you know what I mean? I was there, but I was too messed up on the drugs. That's not me.
Okay. So, bottom line is you killed Daryl Black for some meth. Had you ever met Daryl Black before?
No.
No?
You try to make sense of what's senseless. I'd like to tell Juan, Billy, and Stephanie all. I hope someday they realize how unnecessary it was to take him.
That was a hard thing to lose, you know, because he was such a good friend. You don't find them like him anymore.
It felt rather good that we had moved justice in the right direction for Daryl Black. With Juan's confession, we had enough to seek a murder conviction for both Billy Kelly and Stephanie Black.
My immediate supervisor, he made the decision to do plea agreements with Stephanie Black and Billy Kelly. Each one of them got 9 years. Then they had to testify against Juan Murrow.
Sometimes in the criminal justice system, a sure thing is better than an unknown. Making a deal with Stephanie Black and Billy Kelly to testify against Juan Murrow is a strategy by the prosecution to ensure that the one that actually killed Daryl would be convicted and put in prison.
The jury verdict came out second-degree murder. Needless to say, I was not happy with that. To end this man's life for a couple of bowls of methamphetamine, it was just wrong.
Stephanie was really the one that had all the, the gumption to do what she did. Everybody just kind of went along with it. And it's just tragic what happened to Dally and John years later. You can't make this stuff up.
Stephanie Black wanted to sit down with her children and explain the plea that she was taking and essentially her involvement in the death of Daryl Blagg, their father.
I didn't pull the trigger, but I hired somebody to kill Dad. I'm sorry. You boys don't know how sorry I am.
What was the reason why?
Some of the things about this case don't make sense to a normal human being, but you have to understand that they were using meth, and meth clouded their judgment on a lot of things as far as what they did.
Why did you have to take our dad away from us?
I don't know. I was scared to face him, to tell him I was strung out.
One bad decision that Stephanie decided to make really changed the entire course of their existence, of the entire family.
John, he was into the drugs to the point that he was in trouble with the law constantly and got killed in a car wreck. And after he got killed, then that's when Dally really went downhill. And he goes down in the basement one night and hangs himself. They were both 19 years old when they got died. Myself, I blame her for their death as easily as I do my brothers.
Daryl was just an outstanding guy, full of life, happy all the time. He was just full of energy, I tell you. You'll never find another Daryl.
Here's what I wrote for Daryl. With tears in my eyes, I said goodbye, knowing that I will see you again when I die. With tears in my eyes, I held your hand, saying, tell Mama hello when you get to the promised land. With tears in my eyes, I still call your name. Life will never be the same. I couldn't function for a while, and then I realized I know I'll see him again someday.
For more about Criminal Confessions, go to Oxygen.com.